All right, so it's been 1 month since I have moved to Vietnam, Hanoi, and it's been 3 months since I left Australia. And I wanted to talk to you about what that experience has been like, the realities of it, the good things, the bad things. Do I miss anything? Do I not at all? So let's jump into it. First, I'm gonna start with my month in Vietnam. From what I know, most of you are interested in that topic, and then I'll talk a little bit about my 2 months prior in Japan. I do actually intend to stay longer in Vietnam. So this opinion is just of right now as of my first month. And I'll go through different things with you about accommodation, transport, making friends, just what life is like in general, just a few different things. First of all, the price. It's certainly been a lot cheaper than Australia. There is no comparing that. But I'll jump into a few things with you. The cost of my accommodation, and the first month, I'm in an Airbnb. Look, I've just moved here and I'm actually gonna travel around to a few different places to make sure I'm making the right decision on where I want to be. I originally have chosen Hanoi, although I'm about to make a trip to Da Nang to see if that's a place I like. Now, the reason I chose Hanoi initially is because I've been here before and I do actually have a friend that lived here. And look, it really does help to know someone when you are moving somewhere. That friend, shout out to Gary, has introduced me to a lot of people, shown me a lot of cool places, given me insider tips, and it's just made moving somewhere else a lot less lonely and a lot easier having that insider local knowledge. Back to the cost of things. This current apartment is $500 per month, and that's Australian dollars. In US dollars, that's $320 US per month, or 280 euro per month for a studio flat. Now, the studio has a big screen TV. It has kind of like, let's just say, a little kitchenette. I have a fridge, I have a kettle. There's not much more than that. This one is fairly basic. I am in a really trendy area. There's a bit of extra price for that. I have my own bathroom and I have a view. That is nice, and a big queen size bed. Once again, that's just temporary. I actually have talked to a few locals that live here and they have shown me the price and talked about their apartments. I'll enter a little snippet here. How much do you pay to rent this space?
Because this is my career, so I'm excited to discuss for you. You can guess. This is a small office and there's a bedroom with a kitchen.
Yeah.
You can guess.
I mean, 8 million?
8 million?
10 million?
I rented only 4 million.
4 million?
4 million, but
wow.
But I have to invest here. I have to renovate it.
Yeah.
Right now, I can rent it out the same price you choose.
Yeah.
Now, if I rent it out, it's around 8 to 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons in the past, I run Airbnb business because I can meet people from around the world every day. So I think as a younger, it's not, we are living in the big city. It's not about how we can earn money, but how we can develop myself.
One of his jobs is actually renovating apartments and then living them. I also have taken some Vietnamese lessons as well.
Hi everyone, this is Queen from I Speak Bilingual. Today I'm going to teach Car how to speak some useful Vietnamese phrases for traveler. So let's get started.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
They both told me they are paying somewhere actually between around 250 to 400 Australian dollars a month. So under 200 US dollars. And their apartments were twice the size of mine. Now, obviously I'm paying Airbnb tourist rates and their local rates, but wow. You certainly get bang for your buck here. Now, as far as the cost of food, if you want to eat locally, you can save a lot of money. Now, there's also local Western restaurants, but I mean that is like local food for Westerners, or you can get the local food for local prices for the locals. Typically, pho, or you may know it as a pho, soup with noodles, a very popular Vietnamese dish, will cost you around 40k VND, Vietnamese dong, which is about $1.50 US. So somewhere about $3 Australian. Or you can get a Banh Mi from anywhere from 20 to 25k, which is, you know, just over $1. Where I know is I'm paying up to $19 in Australia for one of those. Crazy, right? Now, if you want to go Western food, a meal at McDonald's or a meal at Burger King or something similar to that, a burger joint of sorts, is going to cost you somewhere around 7 to 9 Australian dollars. And that will be for a full meal, chips, drink, side, and your main burger. So to convert that to euro or dollars, you know, $4 to $5 for your McDonald's large meal. There are fancier Western prices. So I went to an Australian bar and it had the typical parmesanas and steaks and like big pizzas, typical meals you would find in an Australian pub. Now, those meals were about 15 to 17 Australian dollars. Yes, they are paying more, but you've gone to literally an Australian restaurant. But hey, still half the price of Australia. If you want that typical Parmesan meal, live like a local, you can get a meal for $2 or $3. Of course, you go to the supermarket, cook yourself, you're gonna save a lot of money. I do tend to eat out a lot currently because I don't have a kitchen here. Although actually part of the Airbnb, we do have access to a kitchen downstairs. I just haven't used it yet. My next current apartment will have a kitchen, so I'll be doing a lot more cooking there. Now, I have gone to the 7-Eleven, or we call it the Circle K, and the supermarket, and I have bought a fridge load of drinks, like about 12 to 15 drinks, iced teas, Coke Zeros, bottles of water, various other drinks, and they have cost me about $10 for about 12 drinks. Whereas in Australia, that would have cost me upwards of $60 to $70 if you'd gone to a petrol station or a 7-Eleven. So that was certainly mind-blowing. Then I also went to a supermarket, bought the same drinks, and it cost me about $5, whereas in Australia it would have been about $40. So there is a huge difference in price. Obviously, if you're moving here, you want to be earning, you know, Western rates. If you have a job online, great. If you run your own business, great. One of the most popular things I've seen here as far as work goes is there is a lot of English teachers, and apparently they pay in US dollars. And from what I've spoken to these local expats, should I say, they tell me they get paid very, very well, at least compared to the locals. And they're earning US dollars. Apparently it's a very easy thing to do. I am personally working on my own projects. Maybe that's something that you're interested in, or a life that you could see yourself doing. Now, obviously, getting around, everyone either hires a bike or gets a Grab. A Grab is like an Uber. You can order a car, or you can order a bike and you just jump on the back of someone's bike. Now, the bike is gonna be a lot quicker. Honestly, the traffic here is pretty bad, but if you're on a bike, getting around will take you really no longer than 10 to 20 minutes, depending on where you're going. For me, like, I'm in one of the really like trendy suburbs. So if you want to compare it to Melbourne, I would be in like the Fitzroy of Melbourne. To get to the CBD, which is about 4 or 5 kilometers away from this place, it cost me $1. Yeah, cheap as hell. I actually feel bad taking one of these bikes. It's so cheap. Now, personally, I don't ride a bike myself. I just haven't got there. I don't want to take the risk, especially learning in a big crowded city like Hanoi. I know a lot of people do ride bikes. Honestly, I just don't want to break my arm or leg. As far as meeting people goes, I have joined a local expat group, although there's also filled with a lot of Vietnamese people. And one of my friends suggested this on Facebook. And through there, I've put up ads looking for other people, like-minded people doing similar things, content creators, entrepreneurs, developers, website designers, filmmakers, and so on. And I have met a lot of great people. So it has been really easy. Also, if you head out to some of the touristy places, Beer Street or the French Quarter or the Old Town, you can just easily find yourself making friends, whether they're tourists or whether they're other expats, especially in the area that I'm staying in, Tay Ho, which stands for Westlake. There are heaps of other people, mainly English teachers, all from all different countries. It was very easy for me to meet some great people. Now, another thing, to stay fit, I joined a gym. I am actually working on a bit of a martial arts documentary at the moment. I don't include a lot of this footage in my videos. That's something that's going to come in a year's time. But for the sake of telling you a bit about if you want to join a gym, that one that I go to does all sorts of classes. They do jiu-jitsu, they do kickboxing, Muay Thai, they do strength training, they do yoga, or simply you can just pay a fee to use their gym equipment. For that, if you're just using the gym, I pay $38 Australian a month for that. Now I have joined up to several of the classes. I've been doing some boxing and some Muay Thai, and Jesus, that is hard. But we'll talk about that in another episode. Now, getting around the country is fairly cheap. They have these really fancy night buses that I'm about to get. They also have trains that have beds inside them, and both the buses and the trains come in different forms of luxury. You can almost get a cabin to yourself. Even on the bus, you can get these full-size sleeper beds. They have double cabins where you can get up to like almost a double-sized bed, or a single-sized bed where you can lay down, or if you want to really cheap it, you can just get like almost a reclining chair. But they are a hell of a lot more comfortable than anything I have seen in Australia or even a lot of Europe. And I'm just about to get a 10 to 12 hour bus journey to Da Nang in a couple of days to check out that city. That is just going through the costs, the amenities. Let's talk about some of the pros and some of the cons. Look, I'll start with some of the cons. The pollution here is actually pretty bad. There are a lot of the times the city is quite smoggy, and that's actually one of the reasons why I'm heading to Da Nang. Da Nang was always at the back of my mind as a place I wanted to check out. It is considered the new Bali, the new expat haven for digital nomads. So I think there I'm gonna meet a lot of like-minded people. It's right by the beach, and it's also even cheaper than here. So Vietnam is not just one of the cheapest countries in the world, but Da Nang is one of the cheapest cities in the world. So we're gonna be checking that out. For here, walking can be a bit of a bitch. The footpaths aren't exactly in good condition. There is traffic everywhere. There's a lot of smog. Other than that, there's not too much bad things I can actually say about this place. It is pretty humid at the moment, but they are coming into their summer, which also happens to be their wet season. I'm just gonna head further south, get a little bit cooler, get a little bit out of the rain, and then maybe I'll be going somewhere afterwards, which we'll talk about in a different episode. So certainly one reality of moving to a new place can be being lonely, especially if you're moving there by yourself. I've been pretty lucky that I've known someone here and they suggested this group to join up to, where I have met lots of fabulous people. But so far, that's been my experience. So overall, a good experience. I am saving a hell of a lot more money than I would be spending in Australia, What I'm trying to do here is just really work on my own personal projects. And if I were to be doing that back home, I would very quickly be running out of money. Coming here not only allows me to live a better life. In Melbourne, it's coming into winter. I'm not a fan of the cold. And I'm getting to experience something new, see a different side of the world. Now, it's not always going to be easy, and there are moments that you're not always going to enjoy. There are some luxuries that I do find hard. I will admit, I did find it hard to find protein powder and creatine just for working out. I did actually end up finding these things. It's just not as accessible than you would think in Australia. I know that you can go to Coles or Woolworths and just buy protein powder on the shelf. Here, you just have to go to a specialty shop. But they certainly do have those things available, just not readily as available. As far as costs go, on average, depending on what your lifestyle is like, depending on if you like to drink or smoke or party, or you're an introvert and extrovert or stay home, or whether you like to go shopping or buy things, that can all make a huge difference on how much you spend. So personally, I find myself spending anywhere from 10 to 20 Australian dollars a day. And that includes all my food and all my transportation and drinks. It's pretty cheap. That is to cover 3 meals. If you have any more questions, leave them below. What has it been like for you? And soon I'll be showing you Da Nang and what life is like there. This has been a bit of Hanoi. This has been my first month here. But in total, I've been away from Australia for 3 months now, and I'm not missing it. Let me know your experience. If you have any questions, leave them below. Thanks for watching.